Hello and welcome to Third Eye Thinkers. I'm your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm Megan Benanti.
And we're so glad you're joining us today. And Megan, I'm so glad to see you back in town. Tell us about your trip to Croatia.
Oh, well, it was pretty fabulous. So I did an REI trip, and it was hiking, biking, kayaking. So just full of adventure and fun, and really great to insert myself into their culture a bit. So because we ate, home cooked meals and that kind of thing too. So it was a lot of fun.
So I don't know when it was, maybe a couple days ago, a week ago. I'm losing track of time. You sent me, or Megan, you guys, I just want y'all to know what happened. So I'm at home, I'm working, or I'm at the store doing something, and I get these pictures. They're beautiful pictures from Croatia, and Megan's like, this is where I am. And then a few minutes later, and now I'm here, and it was like a cave or something. It looked like the entrance to a...
Yeah, we did some caving. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was neat too. They found in one of the caves a species of beetle that had never been discovered before. Actually, they found two species. One turned out to be only available in that cave, so it was not open to the public, and that was pretty neat.
That is neat.
Yeah.
Well, and then you said just briefly, you were telling me about your kayaking experience and what happened with that.
Oh, that was pretty cool. So we were kayaking, and this wind that they have there called the bura, it's what they used. They used the bura to cure prosciutto. They have prosciutto every meal. It's great. And but it came on down the river at like 220 kilometers per hour, and which is about like 135 miles per hour. So there was like a kayak flew over my head, like bonked me on the head. And as we were trying to evacuate, and we were all evacuated, and we had to go through these rambling trails and ended up in a cow pasture. And then we had to cross the river a couple more times, but like hunkered down in the boat with our heads down, and they're like, head down, please.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was cool. I wasn't afraid myself. There were some other families that had gotten flipped, and they were kind of nervous, but it was
startled, I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. It was a really cool experience. And one of the girls I was with is a therapist. And so this boy was in tears and stuff, and she was able to do crisis management on him. And so it was just cool to witness all of that.
Right.
So yeah, it's a great experience. You can't replace it,
Well, I'm glad you're back. Are you glad to be home?
I am. Okay. I'm so glad to be home. I missed everybody. I missed my family.
Right.
So it's been good.
So today we decided to talk about clearing. Mm-hmm. And on another program of ours we did, our podcast, we talked about protection. And these two are a little bit different, but they do kind of blend together. So today we're going to talk about how to clear either yourself or your space, your car, whatever, right?
Yep.
So what plant or crystal did you bring for clearing? Let's just get into it by talking about the plants and herbs that we have.
So clearing, that's when everybody's always got questions about clearing, because it's something that, everybody feels like they need at times. So I brought in sage, which is our basic clearing method. And most people have heard of that, doing a sage burning or a smudging. These are some sage wands. These are from Soltopia. She's got a big one here and a small one. And they're dried, but I made a fresh one so you can see what it looks like. It needs to dry out.
So pretty.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. And it smells great. It does need to dry before you can burn it. So that would need to sit out in the sun, for several days to get good and kind of crunchy. Because what you want with sage is a good smokiness to it. So looking at sage, there's a few things to talk about with it. So it's the Latin term is salvia, and we have a lot of salvias out there. For burning, the ones from Soltopia are white sage, and that came recommended, as well as Salvia officinalis, which is just the basic sort of kitchen sage, which is also what I used. They have a photograph up now that's actually from my garden. And so sage is kind of cool. It really ties into our American heritage, though, because this came from the Native American Indians. And you know, our history compared to other parts of the world is pretty new. And so this is one of those things we can go back to. Other countries do other forms of burning to do clearing, but it is traditional in most cultures to have a smoky essence to clear things out. So looking up sage, it was kind of interesting because it ties in with both food, the culinary aspects, as well as how we use it in a smudging. And all of that, to me, kind of combines into this. So it's actually a natural antiseptic, and it has, it's a preservative, and then it has bacteria killing abilities to it, which is why we use it with meats. And it was traditionally used with meats to help with that preservation. And that came from Dr. Mercola's Food Facts online. He also said that the root is salvere, which means to be saved. And so that's kind of interesting. And when we think about that as bringing that into our home, we are we're saving ourselves and preparing ourselves. So when you're doing a smudging, a couple things you want to keep in mind is that you want to get your wand pretty smoky, and we're calling this a wand. So I usually light mine for a little while because I'm trying to get all the edges to kind of smoke up. You do have to be aware of like smoke detectors in the home that could go off during this process. But the main focus is like through doorways, the idea of portals, any kind of dark corners or dark areas, and what they mention is shadow spaces, and corners would be good. So you're going to go work in that space and kind of move your wand around however it's comfortable for you, but you want to keep a clear intention or an incantation that works for you. I don't get very, I try to avoid a lot of ritual because I grew up in a very ritualistic religion, and so all of that kind of is a turnoff for me.
Right.
So,
Me too.
Okay. So I just get clear in my head what I want to bring in and what I want to alleviate. And so you just go through your house and kind of clear it out. Now, I will say it smells a bit like marijuana sometimes afterwards.
Here's the funny thing, that I think it smells like Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, yeah, and that's...
So I don't know what happened at our Thanksgivings, but yeah, it smells like turkey and dressing. Maybe because my mom put sage in it.
Yeah.
Or maybe something else. No, Mom, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I told somebody that the other day, and they were like, oh, my, I wish I'd been at your Thanksgiving dinner. So,
yeah, I was like, mine smells more like, well, the last concert I went to. So. Yeah. But, yeah, not that I have personal aspects, but, or references
We got
you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just from a few more points I want to bring up on sage, too. If you're intaking sage, and this is something you're adding into your diet, it's got a lot of phytochemicals, and phyto means plant, so these are plant-based chemicals that we need. The nutrients are boron, calcium, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, zinc, and vitamins B1, B2, B3, B5, and vitamin C. So one of the things it does is it's a fully loaded plant here, yeah. And it stimulates your central nervous system and, sorry, I don't want to get confused, and is going to help bring oxygen to the brain. So one of the things that it does, it's going to help with the digestive tract, and it has an estrogen effect, which is interesting. So like soy stimulates estrogen in the body. This actually has its own sort of estrogen side effects to it. So it's great for menopause. It actually helps with sweating, to reduce sweating. It's going to help reduce hot flashes, and it also helps with salivation, so things dealing with the mouth. Let's see. It as a tea form. I've only read this in one place, but it can be used as a hair rinse. And if you have dark hair, it's supposed to make it shinier and increase hair growth.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of interesting. And if you're a nursing mom and you want to dry up your milk, it can help with that. So if you are a nursing mom and you don't want to dry up your milk, you don't want to be eating a lot of sage because it will inhibit that.
Well, do you know if the saging, like the smoke, would do that, or is it just, do you think just ingesting it? Because that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is. And I read it just from an ingesting it standpoint. But
Right.
the studies for helping women with hot flashes were, like, I read that in multiple places, and it really does have a strong, powerful effect there. But if you're someone who is a breast cancer survivor, if you carry, estrogen-related breast cancer, then this is not a plant you need to be eating because it does contain boron, which is and things that will provide more estrogen to the body. And if you carry an estrogen-induced cancer, that's like fertilizer, so you don't want to add that.
Right.
So, and just a random thing, it does say it can interfere with the absorption of iron, which is kind of interesting if somebody's concerned about that. So
Interesting. That's a
lot of information. Sorry.
No, it's good. That's a lot of information that we need to know. Especially, I didn't know there were so many minerals, I guess, or for lack of a better term, phytochemicals. Thank you. And that's really neat. Well, one of the things you said was about the ritual. I agree. There are a lot of rituals. People will come into Soultopia and they'll ask us exactly how you do it. Some people want those rituals, and that's just fine if you do. If you're somebody who wants the ritual and you enjoy that, there are definitely ways you can do that. One of the suggestions is we always get, and I forgot to bring it, an abalone or abalone shell just to catch your ashes, but you could use an ashtray if you have one, or a plate that you don't want to, that would be okay for getting ash in. But we use that just to catch that ash as you go through the house. And one of the things that they say to do, that gets repeated over and over, but if you want to do the ritual effect, would be to go counterclockwise. But for me, I do it opposite. When I'm wanting to relieve something, I go counterclockwise, and then when I'm putting something back in with my intention, I go clockwise. So everybody's a little bit different on how they want to do things. A cool thing is that if you'll open up all your windows when you're clearing, one of the things I bet you do this at your house. Do you open your windows? Like, just, are you
in
good
general?
at open your windows? Just on a pretty spring day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Always.
I bet you do, just having been to your house. But a lot of us in America, at least, we don't. My husband's in the window industry, and he can just tell you that a lot of people don't because they are either nailed or painted shut. Many windows. So, but in other countries, they open their windows every single morning. They will open their windows to air out their house. And if we think about that for clearing, just to clear out what's not serving us from our home. And I agree with you totally on those spaces, the corners, near the front door, near any of the doors, maybe the windows. Also, one area I particularly am familiar with are the cluttered areas, because cluttered space can hold that kind of angst energy, right? So make sure you clear around those spaces. I brought today selenite, and we have talked about selenite before. I brought selenite and black tourmaline. I won't say a lot about selenite just because, or either one too much, just because I'll tell you more how to use them. I think of selenite, which is a gypsum. It's basically what they use in plaster Paris on the walls, and I believe I've mentioned this before if you've watched or listened to our podcast. And they used it in the old-timey cast and things like that. It is not expensive at all. It is water-soluble, so if you put it in water right now, it wouldn't just completely dissolve, but it will dissolve. But they come in all sizes. They come in palm shapes. They come in, we even have palm shapes now that we just got from Denver. We were at INATS when you were gone. We were at the International New Age Trade Show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so we brought back so many cool things. One of the ladies had etched like the third eye, or the tree of life and all kinds of things on these selenite palms, and they're really pretty, or on even little selenite sticks. But you can take this, and this might be a wand too, and what I'm saying this, if you're listening, is just a long piece of selenite in your hand, and you can just take it just like the wand, the sage wand, and you can go through your house, and you could do the infinity lemniscate symbol if you wanted to, or you could just wave it around. However, same as you. There's no rules. However you want to do it, just with your intention of, I want to clear out any energy that's not serving me. Maybe the way I say this is not serving the best and highest good of this home and those in it, in the home. And just clear out that energy that just feels a little lower vibration if it's not serving us. And so I literally, the funny thing is I told some people that this is the crystal, quote unquote, of sages. And I actually had somebody ask me one time how to light it. Oh, I'm like, okay, well, no, it's in place of lighting and I didn't want to make him feel bad, but how do you not? I was like, well, no, but you don't light it. You just use it in place of the sage, because some of the real estate agents are telling me now that smoke, which we want, if you're leasing an apartment, a condominium, a townhouse, a home, they're putting in the clauses now, sometimes not only the candles, but they're adding incense and any smoke like sage. They're getting savvy to that. We need this, but yet how do we do it? So sage would be a good alternative to that. Another thing I was going to say when I sage that's kind of cool, Roger pointed this out to me because he does it a lot. And we do it every single day in our store. We'll either use sage or we will use an incense of it or the singing bowl to clear in the store every day and multiple times a day. But he said when you light it, when it's going kind of straight up in the air, like in a skinny straight line, that's when it's beginning its work. But then when you see it start to disperse, the smoke start to disperse and waft around, or waft, whatever that word is, around. Waft would be the English, the East Texas version, I guess, right? My version. But when it disperses, then it's doing its work. It's starting to spread around. Because right when you light it, it's kind of, and you know, you can tell me this if you agree with this, but a lot of times you have to relight it. Just so you know, you guys, if you try it, you have to relight it sometimes. So don't feel like, oh no, there's something wrong, it went out. It's okay. Yeah. People attach sometimes too much fear to some of these things. They're like, what does this mean if my bracelet breaks? And I'm like, does it mean it doesn't serve me anymore, or that it has bad energy? And I'm like, no, it means the elastic wore out. Just collect the beads and bring it back to Soultopia and we'll fix it for you. You know, you don't have to always attach a negative meaning to everything. It may be just that it's right. You know, just do it a little bit differently, right? Yep. So the selenite will do that. And the black tourmaline, I went ahead and brought. The black is known as schorl. There's different colors of tourmaline. And it's the most popular, I would say, for clearing out. It's double duty. It clears out what doesn't serve you, and it wards off what doesn't serve you, and then it will recycle it for good. So it transmutes that energy. Because, fantastic. You know, because we know that energy never goes away. So that's why it's so great for that. So I brought the selenite and the black tourmaline. And black tourmaline can be formed, and I'll tell you, the selenite can be in tumbled forms, like the smaller pieces. But again, it's fragile. We even have bracelets in it, and when people buy it, we're like, treat it like fine china. I mean, wear it, but just know that it may get a nick in it, you know, if you hit it on something, because it's that way. And black tourmaline, I had a huge piece, and finally someone bought it from us, and she took it to South Dakota. She's great, Lexi, if you're listening. And but my cats love black tourmaline. They'll sharpen their claws on it. Interesting. My cat, I only have one, so I don't know why I'm saying cats. They have a spirit cat, but my cat does that, and they'll rub their claws on it, and those little pieces you can pick them up and put them in in your plants or anything like that. It won't hurt your plants.
Wow, that's awesome.
And same with selenite. You can get the little powder from selenite, and there are people who actually will put it in their fabric or like in their pillowcases, because it helps you sleep.
Oh, nice.
It really calms you down. Yeah. So I think the thing about clearing is that it's good to do probably on a somewhat regular basis, and before you think, oh no, there's something horrible, you know, going on in my home. It's not something you have to wait to do until things feel badly. I think it's more of a preventative thing to clear.
Well, and one of the things to keep in mind with clearing too, and you had mentioned the clutter piles. When you do a sage burning, the way I learned about it was that you clean your house first. You clean up that space. So you are clearing your space. Then you're clearing energetically. And the other thing you might want to think about clearing is your own self. And so, yes, that can be with a smudge with a wand, and working it around you. But it can also be, you can do a purification process and do a full body cleanse with a nutritionist or through a dietitian. That could be really beneficial, because a lot of times, if someone is feeling like they're in a bad place and there's a lot of negative energy, well, you probably are wearing a coat of depression, and there's a lot of unresolved anger, and there's things going on in multiple layers. So start from the inside and work out, and don't feel like it might be a process. This might take you a couple of weeks. I mean, your house, yes, you can do a sage burning, in a half an hour and be done with it, or 15 minutes. But if you're in a tough place and you really need to make some change with who you are, start with the basics, clear out internally. And I always think nutrition is going to be the first primary thing with that. I mean, if you're eating fast food, that's the first place you're going to toxify, So.
And I love that you brought that up, because I think a lot of us are, and I'll speak just for myself, but it seems as though sometimes we are quick to move towards what something else is doing to me, something outside of ourselves. So we'll go environmentally to looking outside of ourselves instead of looking inward. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it is important to clear our space. But when you're looking at what's going on in my life, and I need a clearing, my house is just something's going on, or at work it's just sometimes we might want to look at ourselves first and see, what I've got to mind my own energy and take care of what's going on with me, and then I'm better equipped to deal with those other things. I do want to talk about that clutter in the house, though.
Okay.
For those of you who might have that one closet that you just keep not cleaning, go ahead and do that smudging in there, and you can clean later, I promise. No, but it's interesting. It's a good analogy, because we put it off, and we put off doing things with ourselves, and the things that we can improve about ourselves. We always say, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that. And we do the same thing with the clutter in our house.
Right.
We put it off. And maybe every time we're saging or seleniting around those areas, we should think, maybe it's just time to clear that up on our own.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a good point, really.
And I will say, though, clearing out your closet is a big deal, especially the drawers. I'm sorry, but the underwear drawers and the sock drawers never get looked at. And
she knows her stuff, you guys. She will help you.
Well,
I roomed with her in New York, and I was very neat while I was there.
Oh, that's hilarious. I guess I was for you, because you were tidy. But, if you clear out your closet, granted, new things might go back into your closet, but that can affect other areas of your life greatly. And so when you're thinking, okay, so maybe a few new pieces go into that closet. Well, you show up at work and you're in your new power suit, and they're like, oh, look, Michelle's ready for that raise. Look at her today. Or you show up in that new red dress, and it's like all of a sudden you're turning every head on the street. So, and you've been waiting for that mystery man, and bingo, he's going to see you now. So, and
the same goes with clearing out those things out of your closet, because actually, if you study psychometry or clairtangency, and that's the where things hold energy, okay, and you can feel it in objects. Clothes hold. I know this wasn't your point, but it made me think of it. It ties in. So you're bringing in that great new power suit, or that great new outfit that you feel so good in, or you love that color, but you're leaving all these things that someday I'm going to wear, and they're in your closet, and really those do hold energy. I will say that things from divorces, clothes hold energy almost more than antiques even. People always think it's antiques, and they think, there's so much energy associated with this because it's so old. It's because of the emotion that we attach to those things.
Right.
And the more emotion we attach to something, the more energetic cord it may have with us.
Right.
I believe.
Well, and if you're going to do a sage burning in your house because you're trying to get over your ex, don't keep the pictures of your ex up.
Exactly.
No, take those down. Allow that energy to be let go. So, We've got a few minutes left. Do you want to do a reading for today?
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
So we
take a look.
had a couple people ask for readings today. And Megan, I'll let you go ahead and get started with the cards while I pull up the questions. Our first question is from Allison.
Okay.
And I asked Allison if she had any specific or question or general question. Her response was, "Oh, general for sure. I am always interested in where I am heading."
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Miss Allison. So we're using the Star Tarot by Kathleen McClelland. We have 4 of Pentacles. We have 18, the Moon. And we have 3 of Pentacles in reverse. All right, Michelle, do you want to start?
Okay. I'll start, and then if you don't mind jumping in, and then I may jump back in really quickly.
Okay.
Because I'm immediately, because I didn't quite read that full picture. Let me get that last one. Okay. I love, first of all, I love this deck. Okay, because
so
I see
beautiful.
so many different things than just, the traditional meanings or whatever. And there's so much that comes, it's almost hard to spit it out. But as far as Allison, I feel like I'm going to read this kind of in order. I feel like that you have some really, really good ideas, some things that you have set in motion that are great visionary ideas, some good things going on in your life. You're busy in your home life too, I feel like, but you're having trouble kind of dividing the time. And this card it's the Pentacles, but I'm thinking more about time here. Like frugality with time and time management and where you want to put your efforts, because you have all these ideas, and because of that I feel like you sometimes feel torn between the two areas. Now that doesn't mean that you are torn and that it's coming out in your life that way or anybody else thinks that way. It's just inwardly you do, because you have so many great ideas that you want to bring to fruition. And I want to jump back in on this one if you'd go ahead.
Okay. Well, what I was seeing with this particular 4 of Pentacles is there's so much of a focus on the idea of this swan. And if you want to look at this card, it's almost frame. It is frame, the swan in here. And so I feel like the focus is becoming more and more centralized and to where you want to go with things. But I also want you to keep in mind not to box in your vision so much. Because there can be some outside influences with this dragonfly here that could be helpful to you. Your long-term sense of direction seems to be becoming more clear. And when I'm saying long-term, I'm talking just like in the next few months here. I definitely see where Michelle picked up on the idea of things being divided. And I feel like things are going to be changing on a day-to-day basis. It's going to be, going from black to white and back and forth. So, just be prepared to be adjustable to that and let your emotional nature try to remain calm and not get too up and down with all the change that's happening. And then finally with 3 of Pentacles, I feel like there's a release, something that's going to exit, whether that's leaving a job or having an employee maybe leave. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but there is going to be the idea of somebody leaving the nest here. And that doesn't need to be at home. That can be in the business world as well. How did you see that?
That's where I was wanting to see what you said on that. Just to piggyback on that, I do feel the same. I actually feel like it might be at home. And I don't know her home situation at all and the age of her children or anything like that, but it just feels like she's preparing, and that's why I picked up too. Sometimes she's feeling a little torn because she has all these great visions, but yet I feel like she's really good in her home life too. She does have a good balance. Allison, I do see this great balance that you have, but there may come a little bit of time where the focus might be, and if you do resonate with the fact that it's home and somebody leaving the nest, then it might be coming up that you're going to spend a little bit more time on that. But that doesn't mean that all your creative visions have to be put aside. It's just a time of focusing more on that. And that's why I liked what you said. It feels like it goes back and forth between black and white.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that could be dealing with other people's temperaments or the demands of whatever the situation is. But I actually think part of that will be released as this letting go happens. That is either tied into work or home.
And
here.
it may be both. I'm not sure. I'm kind of getting home. You're kind of getting maybe work or both. And I want to go back to this. I see this frame too around the Four of Pentacles. I love how she frames. It's almost as though there's this magic that's happening, and it's already, you have this beautiful magic, but really be on the lookout for that dragonfly that's that elusive in between the worlds. So there's a lot that's taking you in the spiritual plane, but then and this is all of us, but especially you, Allison, and then you're balancing that, all your spiritual things that you're doing with, which life is spiritual, but the things you're doing, like your yoga, whatever it is you're doing, your spiritual aspect with, it's almost like you're getting yanked back into, oh, now I've got to take care of these, or, this opportunity to take care of these 3D things.
Right.
So you're trying to find a balance between those.
Yeah, and I was also looking with the Three of Pentacles in reverse. I feel like there's going to be more of a focus on needing to get some practical things done, but wanting to really do things intuitively. And you're going to, again, balance that out, make sure that it makes sense, and it's not just the emotional reaction.
Yeah.
So
I also get that you are a good person to teach about that, about this journey of how to balance all of these things. That's something that you are very good at displaying to not only those around you in your immediate circle, but maybe to others in the form of some sort of workshop or class. That would be very good. She'd be great at teaching this balance that some of us struggle with so much.
Yeah.
But I think time is up for us today. It goes by fast.
So go ahead.
Oh, go.
Well, thanks for joining us, and keep third eye thinking.